Hey guys, it's Arturo, and I'm currently doing the Geography in My Backyard project right now, and I'm at Friedrich Park in kind of north part of San Antonio by La Cantera. I was just gonna show y'all some of the scenery. As you can see behind me, very hilly, so it's gonna be a fun climb today. As we can see right here, this is a good example of physical erosion. All the water comes rushing downhill, and over the past years, it has just torn away the dirt that's covered all the roots, but eventually it leads to all the rock and roots being uncovered. This flat part right here can be a perfect example of ground saturation. So yes, it is a bit hilly. As we go downhill, all the water runs off, and whenever it's oversaturated, it starts to flow downhill. And if you could see a bit further, you can see there is a U-shaped valley right there, so that's where most of the runoff happens. And the material beneath the rock is loose and is taken away from water as a stream comes by, and eventually over time, whenever more of the dirt keeps getting taken away, the rocks will just collapse because of no barrier holding it. I thought this was interesting right here, how the roots are holding back all the sediment that was previously being brushed over. As we can see, that part, the inner part, is hollow, but that big root trunk is holding back all the sediment that would fall down if it wasn't there. Things are called lichens, and what they do is that they eat away at the rock, and eventually it'll just continue to fall apart. But I thought it was pretty cool seeing them right here, because right now we have a big rock, but sooner or later it's just going to be decomposed into smaller pieces. Here's a reference of the topographic map of the trail that we'll be going over today, and I just thought it's pretty interesting to see that we're able to read them now and clearly understand them, when before it was just lines on a picture. This is a perfect example right here of how plant growth will break up the rocks. As you can see, the big trees right there, but if we go deeper, it's just going to continue growing into the rock and break it apart. Right here is an example of carbonic acid. As you can see, whenever rain falls, it mixes in with the rocks right here and breaks it down individually, so you have these little holes in it, and that's why some of the rocks intact while the rest kind of is broken. Another example of chemical weathering, and it's more predominant in this area. As you can see, the rocks are all jagged because of the way that the rain fell when tore it up. This right here is an example of a joint shift right here. As you can see, the rocks shifted away from each other and went a little bit further apart, and right here they kind of shifted along with this one right here. So this area has all of the things we've talked about today in common, with the chemical weathering, the physical weathering, and there's been a runoff stream. As you can see, it goes from a steep incline all the way down. As we can see right here, all the small rocks going down the hill is a perfect example of runoff, and the water that flows through here carrying sediment, and there's just a bunch of tiny ones throughout the hill, so it's very interesting to see how much it breaks away. This right here is an example of runoff and how all the rain from the very top of the hill comes down and brings all the sediment. As you can see, there are a ton of rocks right here that get left behind, but as you keep on going, it's a steep incline, and right there at the bottom there's going to be a ton of sediment debris from whenever it rains heavy. So like I said earlier, there's some more lichen here, and as those do, they break down the rock, so it can count as chemical weathering, and eventually it'll just keep on eating away at the bottom of the rock, and this whole side will collapse. As you can see, it's pretty big, so hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon.